We are live and we are sad. Josh, anything you want to say?
Uh, I don't really know how to vocalize this exactly. I mean, the best way to say it is that I'm just numb. Like I don't quite believe what's happened, and that's not in like a like I don't know. I was watching a movie. I told Jimmy about this. It was a really bad movie. I won't name names because hey, you never know. And I got the notification from passing, and I'm like, I have on notifications. There's no it's a parody account. But when I read star pitcher Jacob deGrom, I click the tweet. I'm like, I got to see what this is. Maybe it's like, oh, he resigned. Yes. And I get to the first sentence, Texas Rangers, and my heart sinks. And I'm like, nah, I got trolled. So I go to the verification thing. I see the blue check mark. I check his Twitter bio. I reread the tweet again and again, and I'm just like, this is apparently real. And then I look for Rosenthal to confirm it because I'm like, well, maybe he had a bad source. And then Rosenthal confirms it. And then the Rangers tweet. Like, I thought this would be a situation where the Rangers wait like a day or two because there's the classic things of like, oh, he signed. And then like the team can't confirm it. But then the Rangers out and out confirmed it with an actual PR statement already ready. And I was like, I there's nothing I could like. It's just over. He's gone. And I don't know, Jimmy. Like, I have a whole spiel I want to have in a minute or two, but I want to share the pity and the sadness. So
Oh, it's contagious right now. I think every Mets fan is just feeling down. Just down. We were just listening to the guy on the space. Shout out to those guys who run the Twitter spaces, Edge on Twitter. But you could just even hear like all the other Mets fans' reactions. They are not happy with him leaving. I don't know what you think the reasoning was why he left. I mean, maybe we can speculate some, but to be honest, it's for me, like Jared was even mentioning in our group chat, it had to be the years.
I
I mean,
think it's yeah.
5 years, that's, I'm seeing that the Mets didn't really even expect this to happen for him to sign so quickly. That's what another report I saw. So, I
That's cool.
mean,
I like how the front office is prepared. They're like, yeah, I mean, we were blindsided.
yeah, like,
Never a
oh,
good
you're
look,
ready to
guys.
accept an offer by the Texas Rangers already. Well, okay, we don't have an offer for you. All right, well, we're
Yeah,
gonna
it's
take this
Friday
one.
night, Jake. We're in the club, so you could just I guess goodbye. This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just I'm wondering what the thought process was on why they didn't want to re-sign him. Whether it was the injuries that obviously the injuries definitely factored in, but I want to know, was it the AAV? Was it the years? But I'm guessing that's all going to come out later, maybe in a couple weeks, couple months, couple days. Who knows? Things leak out. It's New York, but just the fact that he's gone,
Your dog's
I just
taking it
want
really
to,
poorly too.
yeah. And it's just
Just the
like
stress.
everything. Yeah, the stress of knowing all off season. Oh, is deGrom going to leave? Is deGrom going to not? Well, now it's kicking in. Now we can start this freaking off season. My dog is going nuts. I'm not. He's going crazy right now. He's not happy about deGrom leaving either. But
I don't blame him.
but like just like I got the picture of those three guys, like I was telling you before, Harvey, Syndergaard, and deGrom, 2015 champs. None of them are pitchers anymore on the Mets. That hurts, especially because like, oh, it's 7 years ago, like I said, but they were so young, and it was like that's going to be the start of a winning Mets organization, but it wasn't. Obviously, we didn't make the playoffs again until after 2016, until last year. And then there's going to be the fans that say, well, deGrom didn't really, he wasn't a part of the 100 win season. But for me, it's not even like, all right, deGrom can't even, it's not like, can deGrom help us win? Yes, eventually he'll help us win if he stays healthy. But just the fact that deGrom was deGrom, he was a Met, back to back Cy Youngs he gave us, rookie of the year, the long hair. Like, remember that was his trademark thing when he had the long hair? Like, he built that. He had the long hair before Syndergaard was even Thor. He was going out there striking out 13 LA Dodgers in his first postseason start, getting us the NLCS victory against the Cubs, going out there. And even though he got shelled, I think in the fifth inning against the Kansas City Royals, he was he was putting together a really good World Series performance. He was dominating, and now I got my other new dog, who's trying to get his hot dog showing in here and unplug my computer. But I guess what I'm just wanting to hit on is like deGrom was a Met. Like he was a there's players that just should play in one uniform and one uniform only. And in my opinion, I just think Jacob deGrom was that type of guy. And I'm not going to say that, well, he's going to go out there with another team since he left the Mets and win 5 Cy Youngs in 5 years and win 3 World Series with the Texas Rangers and be a triple crown pitcher, which might happen because just the Mets. But, it's just, I feel like if any Met fan is upset, be upset. It hurts. It sucks. It's literally kind of like a step down from breaking up with your girlfriend or boyfriend. And it's just we got to figure out how to move on. And this is the start.
This is the Berlin Wall falling in 1989. And I don't even really mean that hyperbolically. Like this, Jacob deGrom was an institution in the New York Mets history where there's a pre-deGrom and a post-deGrom, I feel, with this team and this organization, where before deGrom, it's like, hey, we're building, and then he hits. And it's like, okay, this is what it was building to. And obviously, that building collapsed pretty quickly, but then there was still that reason to build. I think in a lot of ways, people talk about what the Mets are and what they become, but this team doesn't exist without Jacob deGrom. He kept this team afloat for so many bad years, 17, 18, 19, 20 for the most part, even before Cohen showed up, where there was no reason to watch the Mets. Literally none besides Jacob deGrom. They gave you nothing. He gave you a reason to sit down and watch them when ownership in the front office would not and could not. And to see him leave is tragic and it sucks. But I'm so grateful for him because I think if without him during the 2018-2019 season, if you don't have deGrom, I think the Mets blow it up. And if they blow it up, Pete Alonso doesn't come up into a stable system for the most part. Neither does Jeff McNeil. You don't trade for Lindor. You don't sign Scherzer. Cohen would take over a team that's in rebuilding mode rather than going towards a win now mode. I mean, he was the only thing keeping this team afloat for so many years where, well, we can't rebuild because we have the best pitcher on the planet. So why do we want to discard everything when we still have him? And now the Mets don't. And the most tragic part is that they lose him when they finally reach their most successful peak since the time he really arrived. And it's heartbreaking for Mets fans, for the city. I think for deGrom, it's going to be a little bittersweet as well. And I don't want to speculate his motivations or how he's feeling, but I imagine there's some part of him that's like, all my life I wanted to be the ultimate competitor. And by the time I got to realize that with the team that I was with, I was already not planning my next stage, but the door closed and it sucks. And I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now, but I said this to Jimmy and I still feel it now. I feel more eternally grateful to Jacob deGrom than I will ever feel betrayed by him. Apparently, the Mets didn't get a final offer. Don't care. And I understand how fans are feeling. I feel it too, but I don't want anyone to be anything less than just like, thank you, Jake. Because I'm not like every fan. I came to the Mets in 2015 during that run, and you could say I'm a bandwagoner, and that's fine, but you're wrong because you show me a bandwagoner who's willing to deal with everything from 2015 on, and I will show you someone who would have jumped off the bus. I did not. I've stuck around since, and to the point the Mets are in my blood. They just are who I am. I've got the jersey behind me. I've got a blanket to my left. I'm doing the show. They're just a part of me now. And I have to thank Jacob deGrom for that in part. And I'm so grateful for what he's done for me as a fan and for this team. And it's just weird to think, number 48 is not going to be in a Mets uniform next year. I'm going to have to see it on a different jersey that's not an all-star jersey or anything else, or a Mets blue or white or whatever. It's now in a Rangers jersey. And that feeling hasn't sunk in at all. But I'm so grateful for the time we did have with him. Oh, you're muted, Jimmy.
what I was saying, I said I think you summed it up pretty much, pretty great actually. He gave so many Mets fans a reason to come to Citi Field.
Yes.
People, and especially like you said in 2018 and 2019, he kept that team afloat. He was the reason that fans wanted to go to the games. They sucked. They were horrible. We just straight up stunk. And even in 2020, like we kind of we 3 games out, we stunk then too.
No,
We
let's not put rose tinted colored glasses when Michael Waka and Rick Porcel were 2/5 of the
yes,
rotation. We stunk.
and Dom Smith and Michael Conforto were going to win an MVP almost, but we stunk in 2017. We stunk in not 2016, but we stunk most of the years with him. And like you said, right when we're at the forefront, about to take off, 101 win season. We got Marte, we got Lindor, we got Scherzer, Diaz, Alonso, McNeil. This team is ready to take off. And it was like, okay, deGrom's coming back even at the midseason. And it's like, this is it. Like, we're at the full fledged. And then he's going to come back and everything's going to be good. And then the Texas Rangers just said, hey, here's 85 million.
37 average annual value. Yes, it's
And that's part of me is a little upset with that because it's like the Mets couldn't go a little bit more, maybe 4 years, one less year, a little bit higher on the AAV, or maybe 5 years and higher on the AAV. Like,
are we going to do this now? Are we going to do this now where we start blaming people and being like, why am I feeling this way, instead of just being like, hey, it is what it is?
I'm not going to blame anybody yet. If I'm going to blame anybody, I'm just going to blame. I'm going to blame.
No one. Just don't blame anyone. It happened.
It's like the Texas Rangers I'm going to blame, honestly. I'm going to blame them. If I'm mad at anybody in this situation, I'm mad at them. I'm not mad at deGrom. I'm not mad at the Mets. I'm not mad at Billy Epler, Steve Cohen. The only one I'm mad at is the Texas Rangers. So they took Jacob deGrom from us. Even though they didn't really take Nolan Ryan from us, they kind of did. Other teams did as well. But, man, deGrom, back-to-back Cy Youngs, probably one of the most historic seasons put together by a pitcher ever in 2018 in this modern era.
You could throw in 2021 too. I know he missed half the season, but the things he was doing on that mound, no one had seen it before in the modern game, and that's just genuinely true. It's not even hyperbole. It's just like a 1.08 ERA
through 15 starts.
15.
That's a good amount of starts. Like, he's on track to finish the season with 30. Like, if you go through half the year. If he finished that year, though, I think the Mets would have had to give him $15 million a year.
Oh my God.
Like, that's.
Let's not do revisionist history.
But I mean, we already pitched the pitchers, so I guess that was a good episode to do this week. Because pitching pitchers, you want to see which pitchers the Mets could sign now, just go watch that episode. We don't really need to break it down anymore. But I mean, man, deGrom was, like you said, he was the Mets for so long. And the fact that, like you just said, man, number 48 is not going to be pitching on that mound next year. We're not going to hear Simple Man. The one pitcher that got us a postseason win this year is not going to be pitching for the New York Mets. And it still does not feel real. It really does not.
I didn't think this was going to happen. And maybe this is like the naivete of youth and just like, or arrogance that I didn't want to believe it could possibly come to this. But like, nowhere in my mind did I comprehend the idea of not seeing him on the mound on opening day or shortly thereafter if he got hurt or whatever was going to happen. And like, I used to think when I'm older and I'm talking to people about Jacob deGrom, they'd be like, hey, remember when he did this and that, and hopefully he wins a World Series or two with the Mets or the Cy Young seasons and all these sort of things of like, man, remember when Jake did this? He was our guy. And now I can say that, but it's going to be like, remember when he was a Met. There's a past tense to this now that there wasn't 24 hours ago. And it's like the death of a loved one almost, where like your entire perception of this whole thing that has become such a constant to your life has now shifted. I'm now never going to look at those 2018, 2019, any highlight clip of Jacob deGrom I'm never going to watch again. I cannot view it the same as I did 24 hours ago, where I have to look at that and grapple with the fact that that guy did not finish his career here. The guy that is the reason so much of this current team exists and set such a boundary for what is acceptable, where he pitched every game like it was Game 7 of the World Series, and if without him, the Mets would fall apart. And that competitiveness, I think, seeped into so many of the guys who are still on this team, and it's going to be a real shame to not have him there to try and build with them.
Yeah, him not being there when we're hopefully about to take this thing off. Like, I don't know where the Mets go from here. You know, I was pitching Verlander on that last pod, but I really hope it's not him. I think deGrom, an interesting part though, he does kind of hurt Verlander's market in a sense where, 37.5 AAV for him kind of dwindles down Verlander's. So I think that's kind of interesting, but that's a later topic. But yeah, deGrom not being a Met, the fact that I wonder also what they do now, because they painted all the trains, these Mets, and deGrom was a pretty big painting on like half of those trains. So I'm guessing they're pretty upset right now. That
you know who's going to replace him? Tyler McGill. Let's just get him on the buses. Let's just go.
Oh my God, there was actually
an RJ Alvarez on there.
Remember that? It was like that. Oh my God, what does my dog have right now? Drop that, please. Drop it.
It'd be really sad if you named this new dog deGrom, and now it's like, I gotta change his name. We're gonna call him just Scherzer now.
Took my sister's toy. Jeez, he's a Rottweiler. He's huge and he's horrible. If you want to see him real quick, hey, what's up, guys? Freaking, this is what I gotta do.
I want to mention something right now before we wrap up in the next 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, get your tickets. August 28th through the 30th, the Mets will host the Texas Rangers in Citi Field.
That game's going to be sold out if he pitches against us. I wonder if he will pitch against us, like Syndergaard.
I mean, there's no way to know. I can't imagine the video tribute, and I really genuinely hope he gets the warmest welcome he could possibly get.
Yeah, he deserves it. He 100%. Yeah, dude. These dogs. They're. I don't know if they're excited or mad about deGrom leaving, but
I hope they're not excited. I hope they're not like closet Braves fans, and they're like, "This is the best day of our lives."
Nah, but all seriousness though, like I think this is what I wanted to ask you. With deGrom leaving now, since he was like the face of the Mets, as my dogs are still going nuts, who do you think becomes that guy now? Like, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's the face of the Mets right now?
There's two different answers to this. To the fans, it's Pete Alonso. Pete has the quality that all the great Mets have in the last 10 years if he was from here for the most part. Piazza's the difference. I think Cespedes too, but for the most part, the homegrown Met, the successful guy that everyone would be like, that's our guy. And not to say that Lindor can't be that, because number two, I think he's going to represent the Mets globally to the rest of the world, because I mean he's just far more marketable. He's a handsome guy. He's got that smile. He's got the swagger. He's got everything. And Pete has that too, but it's not so much like an established brand already. But Pete is the guy who is the next homegrown gem, where I think the Mets fans are going to hoist all their hopes and dreams and tout the farm system and what it can be because of Pete Alonso and no longer because of Jacob deGrom. And that is a weird reality to be in. And I'm not sure I'm ready for it at all. And I love Pete. I adore the man. I have his jersey. He's one of the other reasons why 2018, 2019, 2020 became so watchable and enjoyable. But it's just not the same anymore. It's never going to be the same franchise in a way.
Yeah, and I think you were talking about it before too, like the fact that he's leaving and going to the Rangers is just like somebody else getting Jacob deGrom. Like, no, he's mine. Like, stop it. Don't take him away from me. It's like I feel like a little kid again. Like, I don't want to share Jacob deGrom. I don't. And now we have to share Jacob deGrom, where we can't tell our kids or our grandkids or our grandkids if we're alive and technology is that good.
I don't think
we can't. We can't tell them the same amount of stories that we could have if 48 stayed with the Mets his whole entire career. Like I can tell my kids about David Wright and the things that he did, even though they weren't as great as Jacob deGrom's. But it's just you can't tell your kids like he was a Met. That guy was a Met. And if he does go to the Hall of Fame, well, now he has 5 years to make a case for the Texas Rangers to go in as a Texas Ranger, which I'm so petrified of. But I want him to do well, which sucks because it's like, yeah, I want Jake to win another Cy Young and I want Jake to succeed. Hell, maybe even another back-to-back Cy Youngs, but that scares me. It's like the Texas Rangers, they might score more than 3 runs a game when he actually pitches. So I'm just scared of what's going to come after. But at the same time, at least he's far away. Or at least he's in the American League.
What does my heart good to some extent, if such a thing can in this moment, is that Jake isn't just chasing the bag. I know the Texas Rangers are a little bit of a like, sure thing in like MLB because of last year's spending bargain, whatever, and everything like that. But this is a really solid core group of players with a nice little bevy of prospects on their way up for this organization. So you can look at this and be like, yes, Jake went to the team who probably offered him the most money over the sum total of his contract, but he's also chasing a championship. And that's not to say the Mets couldn't have offered that contract or he didn't think that they could live up to the expectations he desires out of his career. But it does soften the blow of like, hey, he's going to what he thinks is a great opportunity for him. I think there's also a thing of, hey, he's going to be closer to his family. And that matters to him. And it matters to a lot of people. You know, he's not a young guy. I'm sure his parents are not a young guy. His kids are growing up fast. The more time you can spend with your family, I can't blame a guy for that. And I genuinely hope we get to see him in a World Series either against the Mets or him playing I don't know who, but as much as I think the Rangers are set to succeed, they're also in a really tough division. They're going to have to deal with Mike Trout, the Astros, the Mariners, who have 3 first-round picks this year and are poised to make a lot more moves. It's not a sure thing for Jake either, so it's very, very interesting and fascinating to see how these next 5 years shake out for him.
Yeah, and then I like you mentioned it too, like he's joining a young team. Maybe he did view like, you know what, I feel like he maybe did get disrespected by the Mets a little bit because Scherzer is the guy on our staff, right? This year, it's like we got another guy. So it's maybe he wanted that. Maybe he wanted it to be his staff, not share a staff with Max Scherzer.
I don't think it's that. Jake.
I think it's the years and the money at the end of the day, but maybe that factored in a little bit too. Like, hey, like I could be the guy over here again.
I don't think it's that at all. I think the last thing Jake is ever worried about is his ego and how he's viewed. When you look at those seasons of dominance, what did he do during or after the games? He would strike someone out. He could get a massive strikeout, and he would. And he would just calmly walk off the mound, compose himself, and think of how to get ready for the next inning. I don't think Jake has ever been into like, well, I got to make sure people view this as my team. It's not a KD situation. It's like I got to leave the Warriors because they're Steph's team, not my team. So I wouldn't put any merit in that, honestly.
Yeah, just a little conspiracy theory in the Mets world. But yeah, I mean, I think the only best way to put it, the best way to wrap it up is Jacob deGrom. Thank you for 2 Cy Youngs, a Rookie of the Year. I mean, I thought the biggest way that Jake was going to break my heart was when he cut his hair. But this definitely caps that.
We should say Jared would be here, but he's out getting dinner with people, probably drowning his food in some tears right now. He's hurt too. He thinks it's the years. So,
and Jared, I hope you're not eating with the Phillies fans.
I'd just walk out of the restaurant, honestly.
see the text message like, that's it.
I'd look at them. I'd be like, "You're paying my tab. I will walk home. I don't care how cold it is right now in wherever he's from. I'm all good."
Oh man. All right. Well, this next episode is
this sucks.
It does suck.
I'm just thinking about it again, and it's like, come April, I'm gonna have to deal with like that first spring training, not even April, but like come February, that first spring training photo of him in a Rangers hat throwing to like Sam Huff and Jonah Heim. And it's like, what?
I'm really going to be interested, though, to see what direction the Mets offseason goes in
I'm
now.
scared. I am more scared of how they react to this than I am excited.
We're going to be, yeah, it's going to, I mean, I'm not going to say things are going to start picking up and dominoes are going to start falling, but I think one of the biggest things in the Mets offseason, like signing wise, was, all right, is Jacob deGrom going to be here or not be here? And now that he's not here, well, okay, now we can start making moves. Now we can start going after a Senga or a Rodon or a Verlander. I don't want.
Nope. Just stop it there. Just stop it there.
Yeah, please. Like, I don't like. It would be great to have them. But at the same time,
it wouldn't be. But
if you're gonna throw money out there and you're gonna throw money at someone, I'd rather honestly take an acquisition. Like, I'd rather dive into both. I'd rather get Senga and Rodon, or even bring back Bassett, because Bassett can pitch in New York. But and I get it. He had that one blow up. Well, a couple blow ups, but especially two very important blow ups against the Braves and the Padres. But still, if you look at every Mets player that's come here in recent years, Diaz, Diaz. Who else can I mention? I'm drawing blanks right now. Jesus. But in conclusion,
like
Lindor, yes, Lindor. Like, you can see guys that come here, they improve in year two. It's just what they do. And Bassett had a good year one. And year two was really, I feel like in year one, his struggles were under pressure. And if he can clean up the under pressure moments, then he'll be a fine pitcher. And that we need more pitching now. So
I'll say two things before we wrap up here. Number one, the winter meetings are coming up. We're going to hear from Billy Epler. And I think more news is going to start circling about whether it's the inside story of how this happened or just signings. Flat out, I don't know which, but the winter meeting is going to be huge. Number two, the Mets didn't lose $37 million today. They gained it. They could spend this on Nimmo and someone else. They could spend this on Rodon and Senga. That is $37 million they can do with whatever they please. And you can never replace Jacob deGrom to what he meant to the city, what he meant to the fans, and what he brings to the field. But the Mets now have the financial freedom, I guess, to do their best to add what they want without being more afraid of going over and over and over the luxury tax. So the world's not ending. All right. This is still a 34-year-old pitcher coming off of only 11 starts in the last basically year and a half. It sucks for us, but this isn't a sure bet. This isn't losing Mike Trout in the middle of 2019. This is losing a guy with a gamble future, and I hope that gamble pays off for him. I really do, as much as it would hurt me.
Yeah, and just to put it into comparison, my brother sent me a text message, actually. He's not very big on the Mets spending huge amounts of money on their starting rotation.
Wow, a kindred spirit. I like it.
Yeah. He's the very polar opposite of me. He wants to build – I feel like he just wants to build a Moneyball rotation. But then when it comes to the lineup-wise, he's like, let's go get Trey Turner, Aaron Judge. Let's go get all of them. But rotation-wise, he's like, no, let's develop David Peterson and Tyler McGill. And it's like, but we got to still go out there. Maybe Senga would be a good – I like the idea of Senga. If we don't get Senga, I'm going to be upset. But listen, I feel like every Met fan tonight, yes, you're going to be upset, as you should be. But at the same time, like Josh just said, we didn't lose $37.5 million. We gained it. We can go spend money elsewhere. We got other holes that we need to fill. This guy, yeah, I hate to say it. I really hate to say this right now, but he did not really contribute to those 101 wins.
Well, that's not true at all.
Yeah. I mean, he did. He did a solid job.
I mean, if not for him, we would have gotten swept in the playoffs. So, I mean, like...
Yes. But at the same time, it's not...
And I'm glad that's his final memory, too. I should also add. I'm so glad it's not the Atlanta game. I'm so glad it was at home, going out on his terms.
Yes, 100%. And you know what? We just got to accept it. This guy, he's not a career Met, but we just got to... Man, it sucks that Jacob deGrom's not a career Met, but we just got to accept it. Move on. And like Josh said, we gotta. These dominoes are hopefully going to start falling in the winter meetings. We're going to hear from Billy Epler, probably Steve Cohen too, on what really happened, what went down, if they were able to match it. But I mean, at the end of the day, we got to accept it, move on, and $37.5 million extra for Billy Epler and Steve Cohen to go and get some guys. And it's still some big names on the offseason market. Like there's still bats wise, Turner, Judge. There's even middle guys like Josh Bell. Like that would be
so off the rails here.
Yeah, I know, but like there's just other areas that we can go spend with deGrom not being here. We can go get a Senga, we can get a Rodon, but that's all I'm going to.
And lastly, in baseball, one player doesn't. In baseball, if you're going to lose a player in one sport, a star, baseball is the easiest to stomach because while that one player makes a huge difference, he is not the team.
Mm-hmm.
Jake deGrom was the Mets to the perception, but he was not the Mets in their entirety. And he will not be the Rangers in their entirety. This is the thing that's going to rest on everything else. Will there be ripple effects of losing deGrom? Yes. We won't know whether that is for years potentially. So take solace in that. This isn't losing. Who's like a good New York comparison? Because like there's no one good actually in New York.
The only one that I could, the only person honestly that I could compare deGrom losing deGrom, like the Mets fans losing deGrom, the closest comparison I can think of is if the Yankees lose Aaron Judge. That's the closest comparison.
No. It'd be losing Lundqvist in the middle of his, towards the back end of his career.
Yes, that would be yes, yeah, or maybe even like nah. I was gonna say when Eli lost his starting streak.
Oh my god. Don't try to compare. You got to end the show there. You cannot compare Jacob to Eli Manning.
Hey, you know what? Eli Manning is going.
No, we're not end it. We're not doing this, Jimmy.
Whether you like it or not, he's a Hall of Fame player.
He probably should be. But
and Mike White are going to the playoffs, and that's how we're gonna. That's how we're gonna end it. Yeah, and they're gonna be first place by the end of next week when they play the Buffalo Bills. But that's all I'm gonna say. That's how I'm gonna end it.
Goodbye, Jake. So long, partner. We miss you. We'll love you.
Yeah, Jake, man, you were great for us. 2 Cy Youngs, Rookie of the Year. But that's all.
Goodbye,
Deuces. Jake.